start the session, and then assignment GP joins, and we'll continue it. Okay. So this is a series of sessions that me and GP has been taking. So we started with how to analyze mocks, then we looked at how to analyze VRC section, then we talked about DLR section, and we're going to talk about QA, right? And we still have some time before the cat hits us. And the idea is that what are the things that we could do now to ensure that we still see improvements in our score. So that is basically objective. So I'll present my screen, or I'll ask somebody to, yes, there you go. And we'll start the conversation. Okay. So in this session, what we want to cover is these three things, right? The first is the question of whatever the analysis that we are doing for the QA, we need to understand how to improve our score. So to understand how to improve the score, we also need to understand what is the right strategy for QA, if at all such a right strategy exists, right? And then we'll get into how to analyze the QA section in the mock, and we'll discuss what are the must do things in the coming day. So those are the three things that is in store. So what I'm going to do, and sir, I don't know how is your QA story. So one of the things that you see in QA, which is different from what you see in DLR and VRC. So VRC, you see considerable fluctuation in terms of scores, and which is very natural. So in VRC, everything that is needed to answer the question is there on on the test. You're not bringing any knowledge from outside. DLR is also a different story, depend upon, so you have to navigate the set depending upon your attitude towards how many sets you want to attempt, what kind of sets you looking at attempt, what process do you use while solving these questions. So there can be that amount of fluctuation in score, largely because of maybe not picking the right set, or maybe not getting some of the questions correct, maybe making silly mistake. Those are the things that you see in DLR and VRC, but in QA, more or less the score is stuck, right? I mean, wherever you are, you see very few fluctuation, and there is a reason to it. Okay, that is something that we got to explore. So to move your score and increase your score, one natural thing to say is study more. So that could be one way to look at it. But also the way in which we attempt the paper can also impact the way improve our score. So those are the kind of two things that we need to look at. So let's start with what is the right side. Before that, I hope that you have attended the race to 99 percentile session which happened in your city, and there are some more sessions that is being planned. I do hope that you are attending those sessions. So many of the discussion, much more detailed discussion in terms of how to improve score, also some tips, tricks, all that we discuss in this session. So do attend the session, right? All right. So let's get to what is the right strategy for the cat. So we've got some people, or let's see. Good evening, Shreyans. Good evening, Vaibhav. Shreyash Kuike. I used to fail at scoring marks in QA since the lockdown, but jab se I've started aiming to just do 8 easy questions at first, leave hard questions, I'm eventually able to solve 12. There you go. I think that we at least have one amazing strategy that is there. Hi, Shiv. So one of the things that when I'm presenting this, so okay, I can do one thing. I can just open myself. Good evening, Soham. So we'll just let me open my. Okay, there you go. I can actually check out the live video. Hi, Beast. Okay. I don't know what that beast means. So I'm stuck at 7 to 8 questions. How do I move from 7 to 8, Shreyans? I don't know whether Shreyans. Good evening. I am Swati Sinha. Shreyans, I don't know whether you have an attitude wherein you attempt only arithmetic. Is that the problem? I don't know. I think that is only arithmetic. Some bit of algebra, lever geometry. So I have an issue with favoritism in QA. Okay, so let's I'll give you the first the part of the story. So this is basically the distribution of the scores over the last 3 years. So obviously the last year the paper was slightly tougher than usual. Otherwise, we typically see that the 90th percentile is about roughly about 11 question to 12 question. Obviously, the last year this was about 9 questions. That's the story. And then we have the 97 percentile. So if you want to somehow wanted to clear cutoffs, this is I am Lucknow cutoff story that you see that it's about 4 to 5 questions, right? So now if I'm attempting, uh, Quant में कुछ नहीं समझ आ रहा. So I'm not able to get even three correct, but able to solve previous year's question, which is crazy, you know. If you're able to solve previous year question, that is also cat. If you're able to get about three correct, then we are here. So let's explore why that could be the story, why that is likely happening. So if I look at the QA over the years in terms of distributing in terms of how many arithmetic, algebra, geometry, numbers, modern maths question, so you can actually see that this is obviously these paper had 34 questions, which is from 2017 to about 2019. 2020, I believe, had 26 questions, and currently what we see is that we have got all these paper will have about had about 22 questions, and I think that the 2024 story we are hoping that will be somewhere like this. So across board the distribution has been like, okay, there is, if I focus on the 22 question version, we see that almost about 12 questions of arithmetic, maybe about here we can actually see about 10 questions. GP is here, I think. Yeah.
Hi, good evening, Gejo, and my apologies for being late.
So GP, I'm just getting started, and so I'm telling them
Great.
what is the right strategy. So,
Right.
so, so while I'm sort of presenting this, GP will pick up some of the questions that are happening. Okay, so let's start. So one of the things that I was telling GP is that we have got a considerable number of questions of arithmetic. When we look at algebra, if there are many of us, we basically say that, okay, if I look at it this particular manner, I am kind of okay with something like a 90th percentile score, something above this. And when I
Right.
look at 90th percentile score, we are looking at about what 5 to 6 questions, and I can
Right.
actually find those 5 to 6 questions arithmetic only, maybe algebra, and there are these topics that we completely ignore. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so that is one of the story. Okay, so the first thing that I want to consider, a few things to consider. The first thing I want to consider is, while there is a lot of conversation in terms of these areas like arithmetic is important, arithmetic plus algebra plus geometry plus numbers first. What also need to understand is within each of them there are chapters, right?
Right.
And within each of them there are constructs. Now, if I look at all the questions from CAT 2017 till 2023, all the questions, and then look at which chapter has this question come from, and
Right.
populate a graph. So basically what I've done is I picked up from 2017 till 2023, and instead of looking at this level of arithmetic, algebra, geometry wise, let's look at chapter wise. For example, how many question of simple interest, compound interest came in the CAT in
Yeah.
all these years? Okay, this is the story. Okay, we have the top is logarithm and exponents. Okay, so I've counted
Right.
logarithm and exponents as one chapter. Okay, somebody,
Mm.
and then there is time speed distance. There is
Mm-hmm.
sequence progression series, quadratic equation, coordinate geometry, ratio proportion, percentages, profit and loss, time and work, averages, and so on and so forth. For example, if you actually look at this, you have questions on questions on something like mixtures and allegation, as compared to just a chapter of mixtures and allegation to questions on coordinate geometry. You see that if I look at collectively over the years, you would see the number of questions on coordinate geometry has been slightly more than the number of questions on mixtures. Obviously,
Right.
mixtures allegation itself has multiple sort of variation. Coordinate geometry may have larger variation. This sort of is, I picked up the top ones in terms of where it comes from, and actually you see that algebra, geometry, and algebra, lot of sort of chapters coming in. So what does that tell, GP? At least looking at this data.
See, first of all, this tells you very clearly that it is not the topic which is important, the subtopic which is important. That and which is what I have always maintained, that saying I'll do arithmetic only and got through is not going to work, because percentage will give you maybe one question in the paper, at best two questions. There might be one question or two questions on time, speed, distance, time, and work. Okay, but similarly, if you look at compared with algebra, similarly you will probably have one or two questions on quadratic. And if you look at these 17 to 23 papers, almost every paper has one question of logs also. So the moment
Correct.
you say it is not the area but the topic or the subtopic which is important, it tends to normalize over everything. Look at this, at the bottom almost you have SICI, 12 questions. 17 to 23, we are talking about how many papers? 17, 18, 19 will be 12 papers. 19 and then 20 to 23 will be 3 into 4, 12 again. So over 24 papers,
Hmm.
SICI has only 12 questions. So we are talking about how many? One question every alternate paper.
Correct.
So at times, and the second thing which also I want people to remember is that every area, we talk about mensuration, permutation, combination, inequality, circles, averages, triangles, every area has easy questions as well as difficult questions. I don't want you to worry about the difficult question in any area, but in the areas that you are not comfortable, the least you should be doing is the easy question of that the sitters. And every paper has some easy questions from every area. Those are the ones you should not miss out on.
Absolutely, and which is exactly the point number two. The point number two is that when you look at this, so this is the data of CAT 2023 slot one. This is based on
Yeah.
the responses that we received, and
Mhm.
and if you look at this is this particular thing talks about the percentage of accuracy out of the students who attempt the question, how many of them got correct, and
Right.
these points here talks about what is the percentage of students who attempted a particular question. For example, this question number 5 of algebra is attempted by about 65% of the students, out of which about 33, 34, 37% got the question correct. So it's clearly sort of seen as, for example, if you look at the attempts of some of these questions, right, some of these easy questions, these are obviously in each of these questions, when you look at this line, this is actually very close to about 50 percentage accuracy, which means that all these questions are in the easy to medium range rather than actually on the difficult side. Yet we can see attempts which are very low. So if I put the chart like this in terms of putting the red, green, this is a story. And when if we have and this every test, like GP said, could be very different. Sometimes tomorrow the geometry, couple of geometry questions can be easy. Now if I focus something like arithmetic, which is a good thing, then I'm not only doing these three questions, I have to get the medium question as well. I also have to deal with these hard questions. I'm not saying that you can't do hard questions, but if you are someone who's able to do these hard questions, then you're good in maths anyways. So
Yeah.
what is this? Is that this attitude towards skipping chapter that GP just said means that what is likely going to happen is we're going to skip easy question. And how many times have we seen GP? Is that especially when I think now that we are taking this race to 99 percentile and we actually picked up the CAT 2023 slot one paper, how many of these questions which has got some basic so I think the one of the question on permutation combination. Remember that question on the I
Yes.
think the three digit number question
Yeah.
thing.
And,
How many questions?
and Peter, that's what I was about to just say. Now,
Uh,
when we look at this easy, medium, difficult, it is based on the way people have attempted the paper.
okay.
Inherently, some of these medium questions are very easy questions. The specific time speed, the permutation combination question, which
Hmm.
is at the bottom, which is coming out as medium, actually it's an easy question. Because people did not attempt it and because people just did not read the question carefully, it became difficult. Okay, but it was initial. It became a medium level question. So many questions which are inherently easy become medium or difficult because people do not attempt them at all, or attempt very few people attempt them. Okay,
So I
so and there's one more thing, Gejo, if you can just go to the previous slide,
yeah.
which is what I would want to people to focus, the students to focus when they attempt when they are analyzing the paper. Look at question number 2, question number 3. These are easy questions. Question number 2 attempted only by 50% students. Question number 3 attempted by only 20% of the population. So if I'm analyzing my paper, I need to be very clear that I should not be missing out on easy questions. And I have always maintained that you don't do well in the paper because you are missing out on easy questions. Compare this with question 5 and 7. The, the among the most difficult questions in the paper, question 14, 15. Look at these questions 14, 15, 5, 7. All of them have attempt rates of more than 50%. So the issue is because I have decided I am going to do only arithmetic, I will attempt a difficult question of arithmetic also. Because I have decided that it is quadratic, I'll attempt a difficult question of quadratic also. When the reality is you should not be attempting those questions. Okay?
The thing that you got to understand is obviously this data is generated after the test. Obviously, when you are taking the test, you don't know what is easy, what is difficult. You are you are obviously looking at the paper. But many a times there are cases where we just click the button next. Just when I see one figure of geometry, we just putting this next. And I've seen sort of cases where people get stuck in question number one, two, three. So you say that in your mind, if you have decided then nothing's going to come out of geometry or nothing's going to come out of permutation combination, your attitude would be that I have to spend every single of my time into questions that that I get right. So the one of the things that you have to look at is how much time that you spend to get a mark of 0, how much time did you spend to mark of -1. I can guarantee that if you so there is this in your analysis page there will be the analysis on time spent per question. What I want you to do is save that on an excel sheet, right, and count add all the 0 marks together. The what you actually, at least in verbal ability, what happens is that you mark, even if you're confused, you'll mark something and then you'll see the negative. In the quant, if you don't get an answer, you don't mark it, so that time that you waste on question is gets hidden. I hope I'm making sense, right? So which means if you look at, so there are a lot of questions that you got 3 marks. The collectively there are questions you got 0 marks. There are questions that you got negative marks, -1 mark. And if you actually look at all the time that you spend on these questions where you got 0, I can safely say for many of you this will be easily about 20 minutes. I can say that half the paper you are spending on questions and then nothing is coming out of it, largely because of the attitude that you have. That since I've studied these chapters, I'm not studied those chapters or whatever. I will not do this. Okay, so that's something that you got to absolutely remember. Uh, and the third thing is understanding that math is not necessarily about formula. At least cat is not necessarily about formula, right? I mean, if I look at, for example, I've just taken one example. We can take example after example. When you look at this question on CAT 2023 slot number 1, this example that is given, if you kind of use calculator or so use simple 1.4 plus 2 in this becomes 10.2, right? And this one says that 10 root x equal to how much? So if you keep on substituting the 10 root x plus 9 equal to 2 root 7 for option number 1, and then the root of 10x plus 9 equal to 3 root 7 option number 2, right? From here you can get the value of 5x, substitute that back here and check whether you'll get 10.2 from purely from using calculator or simple calculator. You will get this to be the answer. So this is what GP says as jugad. And I think that jugad is actually problem solving. In many cases you can you can actually convert questions. So for you using formula is just one way of solving. That is one problem solving. There are multiple other ways of getting it. And in many cases, what happens is that people miss out on this opportunity. And GP, one of the things, GP, one of the things that the people say is that they don't see this happening in the actual exam, right? So they don't see this kind of thing. They understand Jugaad exists, but they're not able to see this. You're not able to see this because you're not deliberately looked at building the skills. And I don't think that you have incorporated whether you can do something using Jugaad during your process of analysis.
Yeah.
You uh, so you, you have to look at whether the decision with respect to the chapters that you attempted
End
maybe
of the day,
uh, uh,
end of the day,
yeah.
what students need to understand that all their life they have worked in a given way, which is you read the question, you write down the formula, you solve, get the answer, match the answer. Here we are talking about a different approach, and that approach you have to incorporate in your practice. When you're practicing questions, you have to incorporate when you're taking a topic test or a section test, and hence in the mocks and in the actual CAT it will happen. If you have just attended a session and you think next day you will be able to apply it, it won't happen, because that is not the way you are conditioned to work in a certain way. Your conditioning has to break. Your conditioning has to break, you have to practice this. You have to consciously look out for questions, and the second part, consciously look out for such questions during practice and revision, and you have to keep revising these methods again and again. So if this is a jugaad question for this particular question, there's Jugaad method, the student needs to revise this so that when a similar question comes, they will be able to pick it up immediately. The second challenge with Jugaad is himmat nahi hoti. I am afraid to apply. Now, frankly, for that, there's no solution except telling you कि भाई वैसे भी तो गलत ही हो रहा है. So how does it really matter if you make a mistake?
So, GP, for example, wherever we are, with whatever fear that we have, we are not getting good marks anyways. I mean, like
Absolutely.
this is the time when you have to do so. You are whatever situation that we are in. I can and I'm sorry. I'm going to sound very harsh in this particular case. Whatever situation that we are in today, after preparing for this exam for a while, and after taking probably at this point in time almost about 20 mock, is our doing completely. Every single mock we have taken, and we see these chart, every single test that we have taken, every single test we have taken, we have seen logarithm, and every single time we have skipped it. Okay, we have looked at every single test, we have skipped it, and at no point in our preparation we ever thought, let me spend some time and figure out how to handle at least the easiest question. Every single time we have skipped, and the second part, and every mock that you take, you can see these graphs, right? You can see how others have done well. If there is a question which is green, which means about 70-80 percentage of the question, for example, look at this question. This is like a 90 percentage. If 100 people attempted the particular question, 90 got it right, and I have not even looked at that particular question. That is crazy. Now I got to then ask myself, if such a question on algebra comes, or such a question on geometry comes, if I have to sort of handle this next time before the next mock, what are the things I got to do to get that score improved? And then the third part, I believe the GP, for every single mock you do the Jugaad analysis, not least CDC Pro. I think
Yes,
you.
I've done it for almost all papers. The latest paper will be released yesterday,
Uh,
tomorrow, sorry. But yes, I've done it for almost all papers.
every single CDC Pro mock, GP has done Jugaad solution, and it takes time to actually watch it. It takes time to actually write it down, then go back and apply it. We see that, who's matlab, this is something, I don't know. And at this point in time, if your score has not significantly improved, you're only yourself to blame. I mean, there is nobody else to blame, right? And if in the next 60 days, if there is something we got to do, we can still do. And 60 days is a lot of time. I
Yeah.
mean, how many chapters have we looking? GP, we're looking about 30 chapters, na, all put together. Kuch to 30 chapter hoga. And my gut feeling is that out of this 30 chapter, 10 chapter we may know, 10 chapter we are comfortable with, 10 chapter we are medium comfortable, 10 chapter we have not touched. Let's
Right.
assume that's scenario. If I have to study this 10 chapter, that is, let's say, 30 hours, 3 hours per chapter. You're revising these chapters, maybe about 1 hour, 2 hour per chapter. That's about 10 hours. This, let's say, using mock, you can probably handle these chapters. So if I can spend about 40 hours, I can actually cover all the chapters that you have not done. And if even if, let's say, I have to do this in the next 30 days, I'm just talking about what, 1.5 hours per day. So and even now you have it. So now it's a question of whether you want to do it or not. I think the conversation has gone, GP, to I think that the reality, a supposed reality has been created, that arithmetic कर लो, कट ऑफ क्लियर हो जाएगा. ये एक
हाँ, नहीं, वो
ये
बात सही
this
है. And
हाँ
देखो, end of the day, there's not denying the fact that arithmetic will give you about 8-9 questions out
हाँ
of 22. But that is 8-9 chapters giving you 8-9 questions. People forget that arithmetic is not one chapter; it is multiple chapters. Okay, best cases you'll get 2 questions from a chapter. In the for all practical purpose, there will be a few chapters जिसमें कोई question नहीं आएगा. To me, the important thing is that you have to broad base yourself. You should not restrict yourself to in a situation where it becomes a do or die, and it is that only that chapter which is important for you. And this slide which you have put up is a very telling slide. I'm not saying all the 39 questions of logarithm and exponents were easy, but at least there will be 10, 12, if not 20, which are easy questions. Which, if you know if you just know the first, attended the first lesson of logarithms, you'll get those questions right. Okay?
yeah.
If you just
So
know that log of x base 10 is equal to y, that means x is equal to 10 to power y. If you know this much, you'll probably be solving out of the 39, 15 questions. So to me, the issue is that you are missing out on easy questions across areas, and you end up doing difficult questions on arithmetic. You can never do well in a paper by attempting difficult questions. You have to learn to leave them, and you have to, but you can leave them only if you are willing to experiment and do the other questions. And उसके थोड़ा सा effort तो मारना होगा.
Yeah. So you're right. For example, where you want to be in this chart, it is completely on you, right? I mean that is you. If your plan of action is that kuch bhi karke, I just have to clear the cutoff. I have to be here, and then you're looking yourself and saying that I have to get about 5 questions out of the 22 questions. Here I'm going to create a deliberate strategy only looking at some of this. It's fine. I mean, it is after all your paper, not mine, and you know what you're doing. So you cannot be expecting a particular strategy at a particular score. And if you are absolutely getting, if your plan of action is to get the 85th percentile, and then you're actually getting 85th percentile, then don't cry, right? So then you should be happy with it. But if your plan of action is to get about wherever here, so somewhere here, very good mark. At the end of the day, what is also important is that overall your score has to be sort of God forbid the paper becomes easy, right? So I don't know, God forbid the paper becomes something like 2017 paper. I don't know whether you've actually seen the paper where almost every question was crackable. And this is a good scenario actually last year when the paper is difficult, right? And then you can actually do so. That's what. So given that in mind, how should I analyze the QA section? Whatever the analysis, you are actually looking at how do I improve my score. And we have discussed last time. Improvement of score will happen in two ways. One is it would be an implementation issue, or let's say on the day of the test issue, right? Which some decision that you're making during the test. If you make better decisions, then your score will improve. Second would be a competence issue, which means there are certain chapters that you don't know, and if you want to improve your score, I probably will have to study more. Right? So, and this we have spoken about this GP last time in
Yes.
terms of these two sort of gaps. It is very very. I hope that by now you're actually doing these things. The important thing that you have to do is that after every single mock test, you have to redo all the questions and understand what is the score that you could have got if you had all the time. And then you look at, I think that in quant, I can guarantee you the huge, while the competence gap exists, there'll be a significant execution gap, right? And you will suddenly start seeing that there are a lot of silly mistakes you would have made either here, or the second thing that I made, you have missed a lot of questions. No, I think you just didn't solve a lot of questions. The question that you could have solved, mistake that should not have made, and trying to look at how to reduce these things means that which means that these are areas that I already studied. If you have to get competence gap, I have to study more. But if I've studied something and I know stuff to do, I better get those answers correctly. And and then reflect on how what sort of the mistake you made. So I want to ask GP, what are the typical execution issues that you have seen when students, how they take the test, which
Okay.
creates problem for them? Yeah.
Okay, if you look at the various kind of execution issues, I would start by saying first is that I want to attempt every question that comes my way. Okay, when logically you should not be attempting difficult questions, you should be leaving easy questions. Now, what that does is when you try to attempt every question that comes your way, suddenly you find you are not able to solve lots of them because any CAT paper you pick up, we'll find that about one third of the questions are difficult. And so if you come across those questions and you find you can't solve them, you panic, you start panicking, and then you even start leaving the easy questions. Then you're also under time pressure. Okay? So panic happens, time pressure happens, but this essentially starts from saying I have to try and attempt every question. The second behavior execution issue that I find is I want to attempt a large number of questions, so I'll read very fast. I'll calculate very fast. I'll try to solve questions fast. Now, if you are reading the question very fast and you're not understanding, how will you even attempt the question? or even if you attempt the question, you are likely to get it wrong because you have not understood. Similarly, if you calculate very fast, again the same thing will happen. You will make 2 into 3 equal to 5 rather than 2 into 3 equal to 6. So there's the second part, that I try to move very fast. Third is I want to play safe. I will attempt only those questions that I'm 100% sure of. Not only that, after solving the question, I'll check it also, whether I've got everything right or wrong. Okay. So which means you end up doing question twice. Okay. So these are three which I find very, very common. Apart from that, then there is another issue which comes off and on, that if there's a question which I've been able to solve, I start doubting how can CAT be such an easy paper that I've been able to solve. Not having faith in one's ability is another issue which keeps coming off and on. Okay, so to me, these are the different kind of behavior issues. Now the critical ones to me are the first three. Forget about the fourth one first of all. But the first one again, if you look at it, as we have seen earlier also, if you look at the cutoffs, etc., five questions are giving me 90, five maximum six questions will give me 95 percentile. 99 percentile last year was at about 9 questions. In general, it is about 10 to 11 questions, which means I don't have to attempt everything. I can afford to leave 50% of the paper. Many a times I feel students talk percentile but think percentage. So as long as you get a 50% attempt or 60% attempt, it's a very good attempt in the paper, and which clearly means you can afford to leave every alternate question. Okay. Second thing which I want students to remember is that you cannot solve a question correctly by rushing through it. You should not try to save time by reading the question fast or by trying to solve the question fast, because that will only induce errors and you'll convert a plus 3 into a minus 1. So if we combine the first two things, that I don't have to attempt everything, that means I have sufficient time. If I have sufficient time, I don't have to rush through the question. So in a way, one and two are linked to each other. I want to attempt everything, hence I don't get time. I am willing to leave a few questions. I will have sufficient time to do the question that I am 100% sure of. Okay. Thirdly, don't play safe. You can never not win a match by defending. Whether it's cricket, football, hockey, you can never win a match by defending. You win a match only when you score a goal for which you have to attack. So don't play safe. Play within your limitation, but play on the front foot. Okay? Which means take your chances. You think you are good in a particular topic, wait, do it. You are not good in a particular topic, leave it and move on. So you need to be clear about your strengths and your weaknesses, and not doubt yourself. So third and fourth, playing safe or self-doubt are something which have to be very, very clearly looked at by the student. So I would say, to me, the most important one are the item one and two. Don't try to attempt everything. Read your question at your pace so that you understand. Solve it at your pace. You save time by leaving difficult questions, not by doing questions fast.
Yeah. So absolutely, I'll add on to what GP just told you. Right. There are these. So you are given these whatever. There are these 22 questions that is available to you. Right. So the decision about which question that you're leaving and which question as you're solving has to be completely based on the merit of what you see in the question, and not about some pre-decided notion that you have about chapters and topics, right? And I think that I think many of you have got favorites, and there's favorites. A favorite is something that favorite means that you can nail them, and it's very natural for you to solve. But it's in many cases this favorite is what creates problems, right? If there is a inherent complex, it's like this, no. So if I create sort of a 2 by 2 matrix, so let's actually add a page and create sort of, if I create a matrix like this, and have got this is my favorite. This is how complex the paper or how difficult the question is. If the question is not difficult, question is difficult. It is my favorite is not my favorite, right? So question is not difficult. So let's actually put it differently. I think this will be, let me say, easy. Hmm? Is a question easy? But is a question not complex? Is a question something that I like? Easy or difficult? This is what you love. I mean, stuff that you know is your favorite. Things that are easy. This is very easy decision to make, and you do it. And this is also very easy decision to make. वैसे भी you don't know it, and this is something that is also difficult. These are easy decision to leave. We make very easy decision to leave this question. We make a very easy decision to solve this question. Life ka problem happens in these two positions only. There are these uh, areas that you're not comfortable with, at least medium comfortable with, but there is an easy question. And this is something that you should have done, and this is usually the question that you end up missing. Why? Because the reason why you end up missing is also because what GP said. You want to attempt everything of, especially your favorite. And then because you want to attempt everything of your favorite, this is where you get stuck. And when you get stuck, you get frustrated. And then after some time, you decide that it's like waiting for a bus or whatever. Uh, I think that I don't know anyone waits for a bus these days. I've already spent this much time on a particular question. I think I should spend little more time. And before you know it, so imagine, let's say out of this 22 question, I'm just randomly putting some numbers here. This is just for pure instruction. Let's assume that there are about 5 question here, 5, 10, 15, 20. Let's put it like that. Let's assume that 20, let's say 21, 22. Let's put it like this, right? Let's put it like this, right? And this is just a sort of sample thing. So these are questions that you find it easy to solve, and these are the 6 questions that you leave. Now, what is happening is that these are the questions that you end up getting stuck. And in what is even crazy is that in some of the cases, you end up spending 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, some of these questions. Before you know it, you would have spent 25 minutes. And assuming that the order of these questions, like so you have got this order of this question in some manner. These questions that it was easy can also be somewhere towards the end. Like a couple of questions towards the end. And these questions, which is your area of interest, and those happen to be in the beginning, and before you know it, you may not have even have time to solve these questions which you're supposed to solve. All this issue will happen, right? So one of the things that what the GP is saying is that in the paper, in the paper I should start from one end, and I should have evaluated all these questions, right, and making decision, which is very simple decision after I read. There are only two things. Either I think I know how to solve it, I don't know how to solve it. If I don't know how to solve it, can I look at some jugaad? Okay, if there is a, if there I can see a jugaad, I cannot see a jugaad. I cannot see a jugaad, I don't know how to solve it, leave it. I can see a jugaad, try it. If I question that I know, then only two things. Will I take time? Will I not take time? If I'm not going to take time, I'm going to solve it now. If I believe that it's going to take a little time, I probably will solve it later. I think this sort of simple decision that you can take with each of these questions will allow you. So we have got 40 minutes for this 20. We have enough time. Allow you to look at all this and pick what GP said. Those 50% of the question, which is 11 plus questions, 11 plus questions, 10, 11 plus questions, and then do this. So when you're sort of analyzing your mock, analyzing this execution gap is very crucial, and then working towards improving those gaps is important, GP. So that's sort of uh,
Yeah.
the summary.
Yeah.
And GP about competence gap अभी आता नहीं है मतलब क्या करें मतलब I don't know this chapter.
तो कोई इलाज नहीं है जो you will have to
Okay.
pick up your book and study. Or,
Uh,
for example, you say, I don't know permutation combination. If you are willing to spend 1 hour, you'll learn the basics of permutation combination. What is NCR? What is NPR? Get that basics in place. Go to WordCat papers. Do all the questions of permutation combination, not one but 2 or 3 times. You will be able to then at least get the hang of what are the easy questions, and at least you'll start doing them. Even if you don't do the difficult question, I don't have an issue. My problem is you're missing out on easy questions. The same thing would be true for, let's say, algebra, or let's say geometry. Go through the basics. It won't take you more than a couple of hours. Go to the questions on WordCat papers and do them. You will be able to easily identify in future which are the questions you should be or should not be attempting. And the question which you of these which you are not able to solve, look at the video solution, the word solution, or whatever solution is available to you. And then take a call whether it is worth doing in the future or not.
yeah, and actually, if your Avkat score is your target score, the what I think that you have ability to get the marks that you need to get the score that you want, then you can actually say competent gap, I will live with it, right? So
Yeah,
ठीक है, I'll
it's
take the
okay.
risk. I will sort of take, it's still a risk, but I'll take that risk, I think. But then you cannot have You cannot have a you cannot have consistently these two gap after mock after mock after mock. At some level we have to close these things, right? And what GP said is, even if let's say you increase your competence, and that competence, if you increase the competence, it is going to get into your awkaat, but eventually what happens in the test is important, no? So if addressing the execution gap is fundamentally is going to be absolutely crucial in this case.
Yeah.
So what you have to do is you would analyze. So you have to you I think what GP said is my question selection. What went wrong in my question selection? What went right in my question selection? In terms of solving, did I hurry? Did I miss out on a easy method? Okay, so how did I solve this particular question? Did I get the right approach in the beginning? Did I have to do a couple of more the stuff? And what are the decision that I decided on the particular question? Did I solve the question that I supposed to solve? Did I get stuck in a particular question? What were the things that went wrong? And knowing most of the time, knowing what the issue is important. The issue is important. I just want to add one thing, and then I'll tell GP is that in all your analysis now, one of the problem is the question that you got correct. No, we don't check only, and this is the crazy thing for me, because
Yeah.
a checking doing and checking the question that I solved reinforce my confidence and my learning. That is number one. Second of all, you are assuming that whatever you did in that particular question was a good enough method. It is here you can think about, is there any other method? Is there any jugaad that I could have applied? Is there a different method I could have applied? Are there alternative that I could have done for that particular question? Okay, so while we worry a lot about the question that you got wrong or question that you did not attempt, question that you got wrong is important to look at. I mean, question that you got wrong, I think you attempted and got it wrong, right? Whether you made an error, that's about attempts, but it's also absolutely important that you look at this question that you actually got right. Yeah, yeah, GP.
Yeah. Gejo too. So when I look at this construct, to me the first column, first row is very important. Question selection. So after the paper, the first thing you should yes, after you have to solve the entire paper again, and then you need to also ask yourself which are the questions that I should not have attempted. If you find that there were 7 questions you should not have attempted, out of them you have attempted those 4 or 5 questions, it's clearly a question selection issue. Please look at those questions. Are they from your favorite topic but very difficult? Then are you that would possibly mean you are deciding just based on the topic and not even going deep into the question to understand whether you should be doing it or not. Okay. However, in your case, if you find that the question you should not have attempted, by and large you have not attempted, then your question selection is fine. That means you are not deciding based on only the topic or something. You are going into the question and trying to understand what is the requirement. Okay. Similarly, when you look at the solving method, you have to again look at those Jugaad solutions which I share. And plus, if you look at the other people like Gejo, Ravi Teja, and a few others also come out with Jugaad solution. So look at those solutions. Even as Gejo rightly said, even for the question which you have got them right, just because you have got them right does not mean that is the only way of doing the question. For example, I can see Shiv here giving this asking this question that I'm able to solve them correctly, but I take a lot of time. So Shiv, for you and for others like you, the issue is obviously going to be: are you using Jugaad? Are you able to pick out data from the question and the choices and use them constructively? If no, then you need to start doing it. And so that is the second part. Third thing which you need to also look at in this regard is where did I waste time? Okay, which means even when I'm solving the question, what is the method I adopted? Decision on the question is there. There's a solving method. Where did I waste time? Should I have attempted those questions? So all these questions become extremely important for you, and that is the way you should start analyzing. So to me, the first step always is which are the questions I should not have attempted, which are the questions I should have attempted. If I've attempted the question I should have and not attempted the question I should not have, I will usually get a good score. If despite that I'm not getting a good score, then probably this is the panic during solving the question. I am hurrying. I am not using Jugaad. I am not using choices. Then those issues will come up.
This is what GP is saying. Now, there are 22 questions. There are questions that should have attempted. Should have attempted based on your current capabilities. Okay.
Yes.
So the question that you should not have attempted. Should not have attempted. Out of which, how many did you attempt? How many you missed attempting? Correct. Out of this, how many did you did not attempt? And how many did you end up attempting? And out of this attempt, how many? What is the net marks that you get? Okay. And here, out of this, how many marks did you lose? Okay. So,
And these are on the right hand side, should not have attempted. You need to check how much time did you waste here. Because
uh,
even if you have attempted 3 or 4 such questions which you should not have attempted, my guess is in each of those questions you would have spent 4 to 5 minutes. So 15 to 20 minutes gone. So when people say I don't have time to solve questions, I'm short of time. I usually ask them, okay, how many questions are there which you started to solve, could not solve and left it without marking an answer? Yes, sir, there are 3, 4 questions like that. Great. How much time do you think you would have spent in each one of them? Sir, about 4, 5 minutes. So 50% of your time is gone. So whatever score you are getting, you are getting in 50% of the time. You are doing a good job of it. So the key always is that I have to learn to leave these difficult questions. I have a simple rule. If I have to think how to solve the question, I'm not going to attempt. In the paper, I am not going to think. I will do questions mechanically. If I know how to go about doing it, if I know how to solve the question, I will do it. If I have to think, मेरे को दिमाग नहीं लगाना. Examination is not the place where I have to apply my mind. Examination is the place where I have to do what I know. Okay, so that part I think is something which is missing. And no favorites, please. ये टॉपिक बहुत अच्छा लगता है, नहीं ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. ठीक है, क्वाड्रेटिक
yeah,
क्वेश्चन बहुत पसंद है होगा, बट आई डू ओनली क्वेश्चंस ऑफ क्वाड्रेटिक क्वेश्चन व्हिच आर इजी फॉर मी. सो माय फेवरेट इज इजी. इट इज नॉट अ टॉपिक. So my process, many times people talk about strategy. The strategy is that do easy question, leave difficult questions. So my favorite topic is easy question, whichever topic it comes from.
yeah. To add what GP is saying, right? So, out of the question that he should have attempted, anything you did not attempt, this is a crime. Correct, na? I could have got marks. I did not attempt. Okay. The question that you should have attempted, you attempted, great, and you end up getting it wrong. That is another crime. Okay,
Double
that's the
crime.
second crime. ये तो crime है. Then is a question you should not have attempted. You did not attempt. Fantastic. You attempted that particular question. I am very, and this is, I think people. So again, let me repeat what I just said. Right. When it comes to VRC, you can see there are a lot of questions that you should not have attempted, but you end up attempting it. But that is very visible by your negative marks. It's very visible by your negative marks. It's very rarely that we leave such questions. Okay. Here, when it says should have attempted does not mean marked. Okay, let me attempted does not mean marked. Attempted means I spent more than 1 minute on it. I tried solving it. In a lot of cases in maths, I would not have marked the question. Okay, I would have left it unanswered. And it is very, very important to analyze these unanswered questions. This is absolutely important. This unanswered question. Okay. In unanswered question in VRC, I'm just comparing VRC. Most of the time, you're decided before only. I will not solve this RC only. I will leave this RC. Another answered question in DLR is kind of pre-decided in a lot of these cases, right? The question that you actually spend time reached a particular point and did not find the answer on the screen, and then you did not attempt. That happens a lot in maths. These unanswered questions, there'll be lot many questions where you actually spend time evaluating.
Yes.
So when you say an attempt means not what you marked. Should attempt here means the questions that you tried solving. So here is where I'm sure there'll be umpteen number of, look at all the 0 marks questions. Okay. And to get the 0 marks, there are two problematic situations to get 0 marks in terms of time. Problematic situation one, those questions you took 10 seconds to get 0 mark. Matlab, I did not even read it. Okay. Or let's say you took 2 seconds to get 0 mark, which means I did not even read the question. I looked and left, which is problem. The other problem is I spent something like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, plus 4 minutes, etc. to get 0 mark. There's another set of problem. Right. These are the two set of problem. I looked at a particular question. I spent about 30 seconds on it, to about 45 seconds on it, looked at the question, found it difficult to solve, left it, fantastic. These two scenarios of question that you did not take even 5 seconds, then you left it, crazy. The other scenario is question that you actually spent 3 minutes, 4 minutes and did not get the answer, crazy. So you should actually count the time that you spent in getting zeros. And I'm telling you today, to you count it. You can actually do it. This analysis exists in the mock, right? You can actually add all this together, count it. I can guarantee you that for almost all of you watching this particular video, after this 40 minutes, this zero will be about 20 minutes. Half the paper would be getting zero, right? And then another 10 minutes you would have probably spent getting negatives. Actual 10 minutes you solve, and you'll be absolutely surprised. In this 10 minutes, you would have solved some 5 questions. Okay. And then you solve some 5 questions. 10 minutes you would have wasted to get negatives. Let's say you solve another 3 to 4 questions in then 10 minutes to get negative. And there'll be considerable chunk of questions. And the majority of the paper in QA, it's going to be these zeros. And knowing, analyzing zeros in QA, very important. Okay.
Yeah.
There are good zeros and bad zeros. Let me define once again. The good zero are the zeros where you spend about uh, 30 to 45 seconds, let's say, and then left the question. Good zero.
Left.
Uh, bad zero on the end. And I think anything less than 0 second, 5 second, 10 second, bad zero. Bad zero is another 2 minutes plus 3 minutes, 4 minutes, bad zeros. So the this you should avoid. This is like you are just looking at the question and leaving it. This is like you are spending this. If you kind of avoid, consciously avoid these bad zeros, consciously avoid these bad zeros, and you will start seeing that you would make your score will, at least you get some idea in terms of how to improve the score. So that's something I wanted to say, GP. Yeah. All right. So
Yeah.
must do other purpose. पहले delete करता हूँ GP first. Okay.
वो बिल्कुल जरूरत नहीं है. And CAT questions topic wise. Do them topic wise. Start with 17 to 23 and then go back to 99 to 2008.
One of the things that you will be very surprised to see in a lot of cases, actual question will be repeated. In most of the cases, concept are repeated. How many questions can they create? It'll be some various versions of this. No, so if I look at this GP 17 to 23, how many questions are we talking? We had 34 questions in the slot. No, that is
Yeah,
68 into
34
3.
into 12.
Uh,
12 papers, 17, 18, 19 were
uh.
4 papers each year.
So the 17, 89, no, so 3 into 3, 9 papers, no? 9 papers.
3 to 3, 9 papers.
No, 9, actually 2 slots, no?
3 to 4, 12 papers, no?
So 2 slots, na, GP? So 3 will be 6 papers, no?
No,
17,
they were
18, 19.
Saturday, Sunday, no? 4 slots.
No, 2 slots, morning and afternoon.
2 slots, yeah? Mix कर गया क्या मैं?
So it's two slots. So that is 34 into 6. ये कितना है?
Yeah. It's 198. So
20, sorry.
204.
204. See, GP in good in maths. Okay. Then 2020 is 26 into 3. Let me add 75. Okay. Then 2021, 22, 23 is there are 12 slots. No. The 21, 22, 23. There are 3. Sorry. 3 threes are 9 slots. Each of these 22 questions. 9 into 22. It's about
another 200 questions.
200.
So it's about 500 questions in all, roughly.
So this is about 500 questions. And 1990 2008, this is about how many papers? 20.
10, 11 papers at about 30. Another 350 questions, roughly.
350 questions. We are looking at about 750 questions. And if you basically decide that every single day I will take about 20 questions per day, I'll 10 questions per day, 20 questions per day. I think that these 750 questions we can easily look at about 30-35 days mein ho jayega na pura. 35-40 days you will knock this off. And if you actually know how to solve every single question of this paper, at least you know how to solve, and ensuring that there are questions that you pick up those questions, ensure that you keep revising a few of these type of questions. I think mostly your cat will be done. I think so.
Yeah, and keep revising. I think the critical thing is you need to revise, and the same process to be adopted for the mocks you have taken so far, or you will be taking. So every paper, identify the question which you need to revise regularly, question that you can solve very easily, or question which you don't understand, ignore them. The remaining question, make sure you revise them once a week. We had talked about this in the DIR session also. I'll repeat, because when you revise the question, you remember the solution, you remember the numbers, your calculation improves, your ability to pick the right question improves. Revision leads to accuracy, revision leads to speed. So many
Yeah. So
students who ask me how to improve speed, revise.
what GP said, there are question that you felt easy, the question that you could not solve only. Uh-huh. They said that, and then there are these questions that is very medium. ये heroes है life में. Huh? This is where revision is important. Okay, these are the questions that I think these are the questions where you'll also find deep in cat all the mocks that you completed and upcoming mocks. I think these are the questions. So revising a questions is also about revising a concept of the particular question. No, this is like doing these questions again. So making the most out of things you already have, rather than getting out of other thing. That's a problem. And then if at some level, if let's say if you believe that your Avkat score is good enough, right? You find your Avkat score is good enough that you don't have to worry about any more competence. It's too much. I think that I'm happy with whatever Avkat. Fair. But if you believe that you have to improve your competence and actually study a few more chapters, do that diligently as well, right? So this should be simple plans. I think what you have to do is in in the QA um, uh, is the idea that I should have a very simple, systematic, sensible approach of doing it, right? And focusing on the cat questions. So what you can actually do is, for example, what you can do is when you're solving, let's say a practice question of cat in a day, right? Let's say you're taking it or some question that day. You can pick about 20 questions, right? You can take one paper and you look at one paper, okay, and you can actually do an attempt number one. Your attempt number one is imagine how you actually want to do in the cat. Let's say you will actually think about uh, to think about leaving the questions, and then this is a question I'm going to solve. So think about by actually solving it like a champion paper, and then you do an attempt two, which means you do all the questions again. Okay, and then you do an analysis and do the learning. What are the concepts that you don't know? Do learning. Take as much as you can from sort of individual questions, and most of these questions you would have seen because many of the every single content that gets created actually would have a lot of these questions anyway. So doing this revision and systematic preparation is what is really going to help you improve your score. Yeah, yeah, GP.
Yeah. So I guess that's it, Jijo. Then we can close. I have a class, so I'll log out. If you want to pick up a few questions, maybe you could, but I'll log out, Jijo.
All right, GP.
Okay, then
So
bye.
what is
Good night. All the best.
So, what are the chances that the cat will change the pattern this year? I don't know. Uh, I don't know what cat will change, but what can cat change? I mean, so obviously, whatever is uh, whatever is see whatever there are three slots, na. So the only surprise that cat can give is to slot number one. So how much the pattern will change? It can actually change. Doesn't matter. So whatever the change in pattern that is going to happen for all. What I've seen is that the cat has by and large stuck to something in the last so many years is very unlikely. So I get good marks in sectional, but I can't handle the pressure. Uh, I can't handle the pressure in mock. I always panic and it lead to disaster. Okay, Ashmit, I think that see can't handle the pressure. Matlab, all right. So this is what I would recommend. Right, few things. One that you can do is that you plan these pressures when you take section test. Plan the pressure. No, for example, ask your friend to make some noise. Put a loud music there and take the test. And when you're taking sectional, no, create pressure situation. No, for example, while taking the test, no, in between, fake panic. Let's say that 10 minutes don't do anything and come and solve that set. If you can actually solve the question in non-panic situation, and when you are able to, when you're solving the can't solve the question, when you can solve the question in non-panic situation, and when you can solve the question in panic situation, let's create panic while taking section test, no, and handle it. So not able to get even three correct, but able to solve previously cat questions. It's impossible. I'm saying this is like you got to tell yourself, why is that not able to get even three questions correct? My feeling is that you are selecting a few favorites. You're attempting a few questions and saying that, ma'am, I will solve these questions, and from these questions I want stuff out. When you're actually able to solve the previous year's cat question, your concept is still there. Somewhere is implementation issue. There are few mocks where Jugaad has been not available. I'll tell GP. Okay. So it's possible to have mock scores around 15 and knockout score around 40 in quant. That is what happening with the last it is. Absolutely is possible. No. Absolutely. So if you're having a mock score is 15 and knockout score is 40, it's like what is very likely happening is that the decision that you're making during the test is creating this problem. So you're able to get about 15. Either you're making a lot of silly mistake to get the score 15, or you're not attempting all these questions, or you're not backing yourself to look at this question. You got to have Soham basically nah. Let's just fake confidence while taking the test. After the test, we'll cry. But why we'll take the test? No, we tell ourselves, I'm the most amazing person in the world. If I cannot solve a question, nobody's solving a question. While taking the test, you have only you you have only your backing. Nobody else is there to sort of tell you you're a good boy, you've done. Let's just do it. So we got to get the 40. We got to get about 30, 40 marks. So you sit and do proper analysis, say that what decision am I making that I have to change. So I'm not able to solve much questions. um, I'm not able to solve much question in the mock, but when I try to solve them after the mock, I'm able to solve them. I feel I panic during the mock. Okay, I just told you, no. So these panic during the mock, this panic during the mock happens a lot many times. So what you going to do? Nah? Let's create panic while preparing. I'm telling you. Let's take that. Okay, let's say, for example, I can take one sectional. I'm sure that you have access to a lot of sectional now, and I'm sure that you have access to a lot many mocks. 2 3 mocks, you tell yourself that I am only have 20 minutes. First 20 minutes, I'm panicking. In that 20 minutes, what's the best that I want to do? I have to behave from now on like a champion test taker, that I have to be someone who trusts my ability on the day. And if I feel that I cannot solve the first 5 questions, I have to tell that nobody is solving the question. When I see a question which is very difficult in front of me, why am I panicking? I should be happy, na? Practically, I'm looking at the paper and I'm looking at others and going, all the other people sitting there are worrying. I am not worrying because I'm a stud. We got to handle this. Sir, I panic. Sir, I get stuck in at least two options VRC sometimes, but the option I take 9 out of 10 times is wrong. Please share the mighty on. See, if let's say you stuck with two options, and the option that you pick is always wrong, you do this. No, pick one option and mark the other one. I'm sure I'm saying it's a stupid advice, but the reason why that is happening is uh, is probably because you're doing some over analysis. That is probably the reason. Sir, if VRC and DLRE goes bad, then I drag that anxiety in QA. I think this is a story that I've seen happening every year. Yeah, that I know the story of this boy called Ritesh. Okay, I think that you can find his interview with me, Ritesh Pandey. Right, he in one of the years that you took, he's I think he's in his final year in IM Bangalore, or I think he's passed out this year. I'm not too sure. I think he's final year. And in DLR, in one in the test that he's taken, he's done the BRC well. DLR, he panicked because he was not able to solve more than one set or one and a half sets, and then he knew that it's gone. And when he went to the quant, he went with kind of this attitude that his cat was over. He said that for about 10-15 minutes, nothing was happening. He could not even write. And obviously, the cat went for a toss because he picked the anxiety from DLR and went to quant. And the reality, of course, was he didn't do well in quant because he didn't mark anything. But the crazy thing was in DLR, he got some 98 percentile on the test. Now, when you say that, how can I say something goes bad, goes good? I don't know. No, good or bad performance, I will only come to know after the test is done. CAT as an exam is relative. If, for example, if the paper is goddamn difficult, the cutoff is anyways going to come down. I have made whatever decision that I made with VRC. That is done. I've gone to DLR. That is done. And when I got to QA, I still have to fight. And many a cases, I'm also guessing the problem with the QA in your mock is by the time you're doing mock of QA, now QA section, you already given up. You said that you started VRC, you're doing it, and then in the middle you say that, oh, something happened, DLR, something happened. You almost get this mock, na. Oh, it is over again. I'm not gonna score well. What I'm gonna do? Why am I preparing for like this? I'm sitting at home. I'm preparing for CAT. I don't know what's gonna happen to me. And then you look at the mock. Half the problem that you have in mock of QA may have nothing to do with your QA, but everything to do with all the stupid thought that happened while taking this mock. And I think you can tell me yes, if that is the case. You hand on heart, you can tell me that's the case. Hmm. So Kraku and CL QA level is very different. Scoring different in CL 21, barely able to get 12. That, I don't know. Okay, that is I can't answer the question. So how can I cross 40 marks barrier in VRC? Stuck in 30 to 40 range. We need to attempt all the 24 questions now. Sir, is there any way to get the PDF of past CAT on CL website? It's only available in mock format. I think from 19 paper from 1990 to 2020, 2008 is available. Rest is not available. So problem in RC is coming. Okay, what is the solution for that? What's the case? See, na, the solution is nothing. I think the solution. See, many of the problems that we have created during the test is because we think things beyond things that are out of our control. We start thinking what is going to be my percentile. We start thinking about whether I'm going to make it or I am or not. We start thinking whether these are all unnecessary thoughts. What you have to do is that whenever you have this thought, you tell yourself focus on the paper. This is what this see you have to take this test. This also is happening because of inherent lack of sort of confidence in our ability. We have to back ourselves. Right. Right. All right, so let me pick a few more questions. Sir, problem in RC is coming. I always try to eliminate using B's and then mock, but not working. For now, I'm practice analyzing CAT past year. So say basically what B simply means the deviation from the passage, right? So I've given these could be the deviation in the exam. I don't have to explain to myself why something is right or wrong. No, and the reason why you're not able to find a deviation is very likely because I had some problem with the passage itself. That would be an issue. So please do analyze, and I'm sure that will improve. Please ask Ravi Teja sir to make a YT channel. Can I? Okay, so I'm gonna copy that comment and send it to Ravi. All right. I'll see you. Thank you so much, and I'll hopefully meet you again sometime. And all the best for your preparation. Goodbye.